After threatening our NATO allies and insulting the British Prime Minister, President Trump soon heads to Helsinki and that meeting with Vladimir Putin, acknowledging scrutiny will be more intense than ever about the tone he takes, especially on election meddling.
I know you'll ask, will we be talking about meddling? And I will absolutely bring that up. I don't think you'll have any, gee, I did it, you got me. There won't be a Perry Mason here, I don't think, but you never know what happens, right? But I will absolutely, firmly ask the question.
Later asked,
Mr. President, will you tell Putin to stay out of U.S. elections?
Yes.
but he suggested he won't spring on Putin any of the Justice Department's evidence against Russian intelligence. Democrats tonight calling for the meeting to be scrapped. Senator Chuck Schumer saying glad-handing with Vladimir Putin on the heels of these indictments would be an insult to our democracy. White House officials say there's no chance of a cancellation.
I'm not going in with high expectations, but we may come out with some very surprising things.
Tonight, the president revealing what he says will be on the agenda, including Syria, where Russia backs Bashar al-Assad, whose regime the U.S. attacked for using chemical weapons, and nuclear proliferation. The president, who's talked about having more weapons, now says he'll talk with Putin about scaling back.
I think I'd have a very good relationship with President Putin if we spend time together. And I may be wrong. You know, other people have said that didn't work out, but I'm different than other people.
So, Richard, what is some of the thinking as to whether this whole thing could somehow undermine their meeting on Monday?
I don't think it's going to undermine it at all. If anything, it gives them something to talk about. It gives them a crisis to solve. And we've seen this with a pattern time and time again with President Trump. We saw it with Kim Jong-un. There was a crisis which sometimes the president was instrumental in starting. Then the two leaders get together, they have a handshake, and everything is solved. So I've been told that during that meeting between President Trump and Putin, they are going to talk about cybersecurity. And I wouldn't be surprised if at the end they come out and say, yes, there was this issue, but everything has been fixed now, and we now have a stronger relationship, and that problem is way behind us.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.